Hello everyone, my name is Marisabel Martinez and today I want to talk about something special to me. I want to talk about jazz music. Jazz is one of my absolute favorite genre. It's the kind of music that made me feel relaxed, inspired, and connect to something bigger than myself. But beyond how it's made me feel, jazz has one of the most fascinating and moving history of any music in the world. It was born from a struggle, it was shaped by culture, and it changed the way humanity listens. So today let's travel back in the time and explore the history of jazz in the United States. To understand jazz, we have to go back to New Orleans, Louisiana, at the end of the 19th century. New Orleans was a very unique city. It was influenced by French, Spanish, African, and Caribbean culture, all at once. It was the perfect place for something completely new to be created. Jazz was developed mainly by African American communities who had an incredibly rich musical tradition. Their music was shaped by a mix of African rhythms, blues, ragtime, world song, and gospel music. These styles were brought together in the street, churches, and dance halls of New Orleans, and something extraordinary was happening. Jazz was born. Now, here's something important to think about. If those communities had not been forced to live under such painful and difficult conditions, their music might never have carried that deep emotional power. If American rhythm had not been mixed with European harmonies in that very specific place, jazz as we know it today might never have existed. It is a genre that was made possible by both suffering and creativity. By the 1920s, jazz had been spread far beyond New Orleans. Musicians began traveling north, and the music was carried to cities like Chicago, Kansas City, and New York. This period became known as the Jazz Age, a time when jazz was embraced by millions of Americans and became the soundtrack of a whole generation. During this time, some of the greatest musicians in history emerged. Louis Armstrong, for example, is considered one of the most influential figures in the history of jazz. He has his trumpet technique perfected through years and years of playing in the street and club of New Orleans. He had his musical style refined by performing with some of the best musicians on his time, and eventually had his recording heard by audiences all around the world. Another giant of this era was Duke Ellington. Ellington was not just a musician, he was and a band leader. He had his orchestra trying to perform incredibly complex and sophisticated arrangements. He had the sounds of jazz transformed into something that felt like classical music but with the soul and energy of the street. Jazz continued to evolve through the 1940s and 1950s. A new generation of musicians felt that the music had been made too commercial and too simple. They wanted something more complex, more artistic, more challenging, and so bebop was invented. Bebop was a revolutionary style, faster, more technical, and much harder to play. Musicians like Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie had the rules of jazz completely rewritten. They had younger musicians trying in these new techniques, and a whole new generation of jazz artists was born from that movement. One of the most iconic figures of this era was Miles Davis. Davis is one of those musicians who never stopped reinventing himself. He had his band record the album Kiss of Blue in 1959, which is considered by many critics to be the greatest jazz album ever made. That album was recorded almost entirely through improvisation. It's an incredible example of what jazz can achieve. Today, jazz is played in small, intimate clubs, in world-class concert halls, and in music conservatories on every continent. Its influence can be heard in almost every genre of modern music. Soul, R&B, funk, and even hip hop were deeply influenced by the rhythms, harmonies, and spirits of jazz. You could say that without jazz, modern music as we know it today might look and sound very different. For me, personally, jazz is not just music, it is a emotion. When I listen, I feel calm and feel focused and feel connected to history. It is a genre that proves that beauty can be created from a struggle, that art can be born from pain, and that music truly has the power to connect people across the time and cultures. If you have never listened to a jazz album from beginning to end, I strongly encourage you to try it. Put on Miles Davis' King of Blue or Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World, and just let the music take you somewhere. I promise you, if you give it a real change, it might just change the way you experience music forever. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.